Hi friends, in the previous few videos we have learned the network, then we just learned the calculation of critical path. Along with that we learned the calculation of earliest start, earliest finish, latest start and latest finish. Now we will learn in this video the calculation of various floats. The floats can be free float, total float, independent float. That will be calculated with the help of tail slack and head slacks. Let us learn through a practical question how the floats are to be calculated. Now in this question we will learn how to calculate the floats in case of PERT CPM. First of all, let us draw a network out of this. First, A and B activity, they do not have any precedent activity. So we can start. This is our A activity and this is our B activity. So they do not have any precedent activity. And now from A, C and D are coming, while we require B and C as well. So what we can do is from A, I can just extend this B further so that I can merge C over here. So if this is my activity B and here I come up with the C activity, and from A I take D activity also. This is how I can design it, right? Now from A I have taken C, from A I have taken D also. After this, B and C, they are combining at this point and E event is coming up. So E and D and E are combining, and from here F is coming up. So this is how my network will be designed. It is a very simple case. Now what next you have to do is you have to give them the names, and the time also has to be allotted. For A activity 16 hours are required. For B activity 20 hours are required. For C activity 8 hours are required. For D 10 hours are required. For E 6 hours or days are required, and for F 12 are required. So this is the question given to you. Now what we will do is we will just name them as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The events will be named like that in the sequential order. Now first of all, to calculate the floats, we all know we have to calculate earliest start and earliest finish. So this is the close view of our network. Let us start the earliest start and earliest finish. As I discussed with you in the previous example, in the previous video, we start with the 0, and if 16 days are taking, its finishing will be 16. Starting with the 0 day and taking 16 days. Here, if I am finishing this activity in 16 days and further taking 10 days for this activity, it will be finishing in 26 days. Next, if this is finishing in 26 days, again I require 12 days, it will be finishing in 38 days. This is how earliest start, earliest finish are calculated. For this, again I will be starting with 0. It is taking 20 days, so earliest start is 0, earliest finish is 20. Now, for this activity, my preceding activity was ending in 16, so 16 plus 8, 24. Now I have to move from here. Now see, from here two activities are coming up on this. One is finishing in 20, one is finishing in 24. I told you we have to take the higher one. So here 24 plus 6, it will be 30. Now moving ahead with here. Earlier I have taken 26, but now I know these 2 points are coming here, 30 and 26. So it means this was not right. I have to take the maximum 30. And this is 12, it will be finishing in 42. So for every activity I have calculated earliest start and earliest finish. Let us just note down these on our table on the left hand side by side, because we have to calculate the floats later on. So looking at this diagram network, earliest start and earliest finish, we will note down. For A activity it is 0, 16. For B activity it is 0, 20. For C activity 16, 24. For D activity 16, 26. For E activity 24 and 30. For F activity 30 and 42. So just note it down. Now let's start with the calculation of latest start and latest finish. As I told you earlier, you have to start at the back. So at the back we have ended up with 42 now. So we will be starting with 42. Let's just erase these ES and EF. So now we will be starting with 42 over here. So for this activity, 42 minus 12, it will be 30. So for this activity, we have calculated. Now going back, it is finishing in 30. So minus 10, 20 and 30. This is the latest start, latest finish for D. For this as well, it has finished. It has started in 30. So it will be finishing in 30. 30 minus 6, 24. Right? So now from here, we have to go back here and here also. So 20 and it is 16. So it will be 4 on this point at this point. Now before just calculating this, let us see which are the tails coming to this point. At this point, one tail is this and one tail is this. This is 20. But from here, let us see what comes. If I just move from here, this is 24. I have to go here. It will be 16 and 24. And if I have to calculate for this, again from here, it will be 4 and 24. And this is coming 24 over here. 20 is reducing 4 and 24. Now for this event, see these two tails are coming. From this tail I am getting 20. From this tail I am getting 24. So I told you take the lead. Sorry, from this tail I am getting 16. 16 and 20. So 16 and 20, which one is the minimum? 16. 16 minus 16, it will be 0 and 16. So I hope for every activity we have calculated latest start and latest finish. Let us just note it down at our table first. Latest start and latest finish. For A activity, it has come out to be 0, 16. For B activity, 4 and 24. For C activity, 16 and 24. For D activity, 20 and 30. For E activity, 24 and 30. And for F activity, 30 and 42. If you will try to calculate the critical path of this, you can also calculate that, and you will observe that at critical path, these will be same. Now at some points you can check. At this point, ES, EF, LS, LF are same. Here it is different. It is not activity of critical path. Here again same, 1624, 1624. It will be the activity of critical path. E again same, it will be the activity of critical path. So if you want to draw critical path from here, you can draw. Otherwise, as we have earlier seen, we can draw all the parts and then we can calculate. So if I want to calculate my critical path from here, it will be A activity, this, then C activity, it will go from here, then it will be E activity from here, and then last from here. So I can draw critical path from here also. My critical path will be 1 to 2 or A to C, C to E, E to F. This is my critical path. So now we have finished with the calculation of earliest start, earliest finish, latest start, latest finish. Now the next step is to just put these values in these circles. Now you have to show these earliest start, earliest finish, latest start, latest finish in these rims as well, in these events also. So there is a way to represent it. In a circle, you will be dividing it in 3 parts like this. On the above side, we will be writing the event number. The event number, the 1, 2, 3 that we generally write in every circle. 1, and here we are going to write earliest start of that particular activity or event, and here we are going to write latest finish of that particular event. This all we have already calculated. So for now, this is our first rim, and here we are going to write 1, and below we will be dividing it in 2 parts. Likewise, it was 2, so like this, it was our 3, like this, it was our 4, and last was our 5. So for the first, earliest start will always be equal to 0, and earliest finish also will always be equal to 0. So this is our first activity, A, and here on this node, this will be called our head, and this will be called the tail of the activity. This is like this is head where arrow is pointing, and this is the tail of that activity. Now for A activity, according to the time given in the question, this activity was taking 16 hours. So if this is the earliest start, for the next it will be 16 only. For B activity, here the time given in the question was 20. But here we have seen it is coming from this side and this side. For C activity, time was given 8. From this side, it is 16 plus 8, 24. From this side, it was 20. So we have taken here maximum 24. Now going on this side, for E activity, time taken was given 6 hours. So if we go here, 20 plus 6. So earliest start was 30. And from here, the time taken was, for D activity, it was given 10. And for F activity, time taken was given as 12. So to mark on this, we have taken 24 plus 6, 30. If we try to calculate from here, 16 plus 10, it would have been 26. So we have to take maximum. So it is 30 only. So 30 plus 12. So here it will be 42. So like this, you will be filling up the earliest start. Now to fill the latest finish, you will be going backward. You will be writing same over here, because we know at the critical path, both are going to be same. You will check both will be same. So we are going back. So it will be 42 minus 12. 30 will come here. If we go on this side, 30 minus 6. It will be 24 on this side. As I told you, at the critical path, these both are going to be same. Now you can well imagine this is our critical path. Otherwise also we can calculate this critical. So now for this D, if we go from this side, because on this there are two tails. So if we go on this side, 30 minus 10, it will be 20. But if we go from this side, 24 minus 8, that is 16. So 20 and 16, whichever is less, always put here. So this will be the 16. So again you can see this is going to give you the same solution. And again 16 minus 6, it will be 0, 24. Because these are the two nodes. So from here, if we go back on this tail, 2 are coming. So here 16 minus 16, 0, 24 minus 24. So whichever is less, that we will write. So we can see from here that this is our critical path, wherever the items earliest start, earliest finish are equal, and that earliest start, earliest finish have already been shown in this table. This is how you will be writing this in the form of notes. Now after calculating the earliest start, earliest finish and putting this in this format, now we can calculate the floats very easily. To calculate the floats, we have certain formulas. First of all, write down the formula for total float. Total float is also called TF. And the formula to calculate the total float is latest finish of that particular activity minus earliest finish of that activity. Just remember this formula. If you have been told to calculate the latest float, you have to find out latest finish minus earliest finish. Now if I tell you to calculate total float over here, the formula was latest finish minus earliest finish. So LF minus EF, 16 minus 16, 0, 24 minus 24, 24 minus 24, 0, 30 minus 26, 4, 30 minus 30, 0, and 42 minus 42, 0. Now another way to find out the total float you can find out is by calculating LS minus ES. So you can note down this as well. Total float can also be calculated by LS minus ES. Instead of finish, we can take start also. So if you look at the, and we apply the second formula that we have just done, and LS minus ES. LS minus ES. 0 minus 0, 0. 4 minus 0, 4. 16 minus 16, 0. 20 minus 16, 4. 24 minus 24, 0. 30 minus 30, 0. So in both the ways you will be getting the same answer. So total float can be calculated by either of the way. The second thing that may be asked in the questions is free float. We have calculated total float. Now you may be asked to calculate the free float. Now to calculate the free float, there is a formula, total float, that we just calculated. You have to first calculate that total float minus head event slack. The slack of head event. I told you what is head and what is tail. So you have to calculate those difference also. So if I want to calculate from here free float that we know as FF, the formula we have done is total float that we just calculated minus head slack. Now here total float is 0. What is head slack? This is activity A, this is head and this is tail. So head slack means difference between these two. Difference between earliest start and latest finish. So the difference between these two is 0. So in the first case answer will be 0 only. Come to the second case. Total float is 4 and this is activity B. For activity B, this is the head slack. 24 minus 24, again it comes out to be 0. So second answer is 4. Coming to the third, 0 total float minus C activity. This is the C activity, this is the head. 24 minus 24, 0. So again the third answer is 0. For D activity, total float we calculated was 4 minus. For D activity, this is the D activity, this is head. 30 minus 30, 0. So it will be 4 only. Now next is E activity 0 minus. For E activity, this is our E activity. These two, difference between these two is again 0. So it is 0. And last activity is F. Total float is 0 minus. For F activity, this is the head. Difference between these two is 0. So 0. This is how you can calculate the free floats in the questions. Another thing that may be asked in the questions is independent float. The formula to calculate independent float is free float that we calculated just now minus tail slack. So free float minus tail slack. Head and tail, you already know what is head and tail. So we can calculate that as well. If we try to just put this, calculate the independent float from here. So independent float. Formula we know, free float, this is the free float. So 0 minus tail slack. If we are calculating for A activity, this is the tail. So the difference between these two will be called tail slack. So 0 minus 0, the first answer will be 0. For second, this is the free float minus. We are calculating for B activity. For B activity, this is the tail. So again it will be 0, 0. For C activity, our free float is 0. C activity is this, its tail is this, 16 minus 16, 0, so it will be 0 only. For D activity, answer is 4 minus, where is D activity? This, its tail is this, 16 minus 16, 0, so again it will be 4 only. For E activity, the free float is 0 minus, this is E activity, its tail is this, it will be 0 is equal to 0. For F activity, it was 0 minus its tail, again slack is 0, 0. So this is how you will be calculating total float, free float, independent float if in any question it has been asked. Thank you.